Football is more than just a game. It's about passion, community, and a deep-rooted history that spans generations. And for over 60 years, Hanover Football Club has been at the heart of Portadown, shaping players, creating memories, and building a legacy that stands the test of time. From humble beginnings to hard-fought victories, from local rivalries to moments of triumph, Hanover's story is one of resilience, commitment, and pride. This is more than just a football club. It's a family, a tradition, and a symbol of what the beautiful game means to so many. In this special series, we're taking you on a journey through time, exploring the club's founding years, the legends who wore the blue and white, the challenges overcome, and the bright future ahead. Through interviews, archives, and first-hand accounts, we'll uncover the story of Hanover FC like never told before. This is the history of Hanover Football Club. This is our story.
My name is Raymond McLaughlin, and I'm one of the founder members of Hanover Football Club.
So Hanover was formed 60 years ago in 1965.
65.
You two were two of the founder members.
Yeah, along with three other ones.
Okay, so how and where did the idea come about?
Well, we started playing football in the streets. South Street and Georgia Street was known as a great area for street football. In my opinion, the five of us were probably the best players in that area. And one night, summer night, we went to Alec Kerr's café, but decided to have our own club. I actually said, hey, why don't we have our own football team? But plenty of players. So we decided to have it, and we sat and talked about names. And I said, what about Greenview? Because the Fair Green, we played in the Fair Green every night. Tommy Whitten said, no, I don't like that name. He says, what about Hanover? And I remember saying to Tommy, do you mean Hanover State? He said, no, the House of Hanover, the Royal House of Hanover. He says, well, we call that. So we decided to call it Hanover. So we formed a team, and most of the team we formed was teams that actually, the boys that played in the street. And Rowley came in from Woodside to play. Roy Simon came in from Dumcree to play in the streets. And it was very keen football, wasn't it?
Always competitive now.
Very competitive.
So who were the five sort of people that would have been the founder members of Hanover?
Well, there was Kenny here, Kenny Craig, Tommy Whitten, Mousy Crayley, or Robert Crayley, who was buried the way with Hanover skip on him, and Tom Milligan and myself. We were the five founder members.
So you decided to call yourselves Hanover. So how did the badge then come about?
There was a chef in Portadown. It was a German chef, and he worked in Rob's out the Ormar Road, and he lived in Rackley Park. And I went to see him, and I asked him, say, could you write a letter in German to Hanover, city of Hanover? And he wrote the letter, get permission to use the badge.
So whenever you wrote off to Germany, did you get a response?
Well, response in German, but Frank, he put it into English for us. And then we got permission back to use the badge, which we had on our football jersey at that time. It was, I was proud of it.
You had a badge, you had a team name. How did you end up getting a team? How did you round up players that wanted to come and play?
We had players. I had players. I become the captain of the team, and had players who played in the streets. But then, as become a wee bit more better, a lot of players come and ask to join. Like a Norman Donaldson and Dennis Crowe and John Johnson. John Johnson actually was on Chelsea's books. He was born and reared right beside the flats, right beside Chelsea's football ground. And I always remember I worked at TVs at that time, and John Johnson stopped me and he says, any chance to sign for Hanover. And I nearly broke his arm to sign. And he signed for Hanover on a great club man. He became a great club man. And Hanover, he loves Hanover today, he died. So,
What sort of age were you guys around then?
I'd have been about 23, wasn't
I was about 20 at that time.
Whenever all the people that you were trying to sign, were they your mates, or did you work with them, or did you go to school with them?
Well, I went to school with Rowley. Me and Rowley started school the same day. But then there's all players that come in. I knew, of course, I'd been playing football in the summer league and what have you. A lot of these players I knew. So I signed them. And the more successful you are as a team, the more players want to come to you.
I signed for Hanover, I think it was around about 1967, and it was Remy McLaughlin signed me. I played for a local team called Eggerstown, and Remy asked me would I come to Hanover, and from then.
That's been your team then from then?
Yeah.
So what attracted you to sort of leave your Eggerstown team then and come and play for Hanover?
Well, it was most of the boys. There was Norman and Dennis Crowe, and most of them boys I knew, from school days and all. And of course, where that clanny, we always seemed to stick together,
What age would you have been back then, sort of like 1967?
You come 21 maybe.
So Norman, when did you sign for Hanover and what attracted you to come down?
I signed for Hanover in '66 from Mid-Ulster Cup Mills. I didn't start playing football as 21. But then Remy come and asked me to sign for Hanover, and it's same as Tucker here. I was born in Rurber. Most of them boys were all sort of friends before even football come into it.
Were there other teams in the town at that time that you were competing with to sign players?
About five teams. There wasn't too many. I mean, at that time, I think Mid-Ulster one time was only one league before we went into it. Only one league in it. And then we played friendly matches, and then went into Armagh and played the Winter League in Armagh.
And Kenny, whenever you first started, like where would you have trained or where would you have played your matches?
Well, played in the Fair Green. That's where we started off in Fair Green. And then played in Austin Villa,
Yeah.
which is off the Armagh Road.
That's Brownstown Park now.
Brownstown Park now, yeah. Played there.
And where would you have played your matches back then?
We started off playing, the first friendly match we played was against Bourneview, and it was where I live now, actually, up in behind Shamrock Park football ground. It's they built houses on it now, but that's for our first match against Bourneview. We were in gold for Hanover that day. I can remember. And that's our first friendly match was against Bourneview. I think we beat them 5-3. And then went on from there and then went to the Armagh League. And we played in the Armagh League. Should have won the Armagh League, in my opinion, but maybe I'm past.
And would you have played your matches was it in Lorville you played your first
No, the first
home
time we
matches?
played out in Tortarhan, behind Wright's Café there, out to Dungannon Road. Got permission to play there. And then we moved to Mullavilla to play there, Sam McGrady's fields. And we played there for a couple of years, played out there.
So
Yeah.
what was it like sort of playing football back then, and even like what was the training and stuff like?
Playing back football back then was completely different from it is now because the fields were like ploughed fields. The training, well, we put in good training, so it is, at Hanover. The boys woke their socks off all the time, Compared to now, the young ones don't want to play football now. Well, they want to play football, but they don't want to train.
What would you'd said there about the pitches? So we had spoke before about like Hanover's early pitches. They'd played like in McGrady's Fields in Lorville, or they played out in Derrykeevan.
I think our first pitch was down behind Wright's Guards on Dungannon Road.
That's Derrykeevan, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a peat bog. We put that field up ourselves and all. But we didn't play it that long, sure we didn't, Tucker.
That's true.
I don't think we played it that long, and then we'll come back to Brownstown now.
And what would it have been like? Like, what's the change in facilities and all that?
I think it's changed at the side of the road with the car.
That time then I got the wind as they were building Brownstown Park. I got it from the mayor of Portadown, who was Tommy Newell. He tipped me off as they were building Brownstown Park. So I got in to find out and put a letter into the council. At that time it was Portadown Council run the town. And I put in to get the permission to play in Brownstown Park. So we were the first team ever to play in Brownstown Park arena.
What sort of kit did you wear back then?
The first kit we wore was a yellow and black kit, which I bought myself, which was something similar to Wolves. And we played in that. And the very first kit I ever actually wore, I had the borrow of Jim Conway of Portadown Football Club. Jim Conway was the manager at that time. And I borrowed the kit, and then we bought our own kit. And then that was yellow and black. That's the Wolves were and I. And then we went to, whenever we joined the Mid-Ulster. At that time they started two divisions, the second division and the first division. But we had to have two kits for home and away in the Mid-Ulster. So the first kit we had was a light blue, a dark blue stripe there.
So who was the first manager of the team?
The first manager was Bob Gregg. I was the captain of the team, and Bob Gregg was the manager of the team. Bob was a policeman at the time. And he used to run the J Division police team. So Bob was the first manager. And we played. And out there at Kiernan, at that Tartarian pitch. And Bob's wife used to watch the skip.
And how did you go about signing players? Did you sign players, or was it Bob?
I signed the players. The players come to me and I signed them. Because I was with a summer league and all that going on, I knew the player.
I see some newspaper articles from the time, and in that first season you were in the Lonsdale League, you were only beaten 3 times out of 31.
That's right. We were hammering teams left, right and centre. But good players, I was getting players in, and good players from 4 down. But actually, I think we come second in the league that year. I think we come second. I can't remember who won it, but we come second. But it's a good experience for us.
So where would you have been playing? Like you said, you were the captain of the team, and Kenny, you played as well. What position did you play? Or
I played up front, sometimes out in the right wing.
Where do you play, Kenny?
Well, I was a goal, but when I started with the first team in Hanover.
So when you entered the Lonsdale League, there was a news article at the time said that you had a pitch out in Derrykeevan, and you also had a headquarters in Cecil Street. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I went and seen, I think of Rights, he called them, they have a café and all out there, and I out there in Gannon Road, and they had a pitch there. And I went and asked them, and they said, no problem, but we had to change in the barn. There was no showers or nothing out there. We changed in the barn, a hay barn. And we played there for a couple of years. And then it was a pitch that in the winter time got flooded very easy. So we decided we had to have somewhere of more better drainage. And the best one and before they built Brownstown Park, was out in Sam McGrady's fields in Mallavilla. And I knew they were well drained out there. Sam had them well drained. So I went and seen Sam McGrady at his office down in Kewahi Road, and asked him permission to play out in Mallavilla. He gave us permission. There's no problem. And we played there for a couple of years out there. And we changed in the Dart Club. The Dart Club in Mallavilla at that time, before the cricket club had their own cricket club. We changed in the Dart Club, and then went down and played in Mallavilla. A good time in Mallavilla, until Big Sam got drunk one day and came onto the pitch with a Mercedes.
Around that time, whenever you were playing in the Lonsdale League, you also won your first trophy, which was the Royal Naval Cup.
Right.
So can you tell me, what was the Royal Naval Cup, or how did that come about?
Well, we had a chap come out of Warren Street. He was a chief petty officer in the Royal Navy, and he's home on leave. And I met him in the Queen's. I can't remember Billy's second name, tell you the truth. He's been away that long. And he found out from Georgie Whitten that we had a football team. And he said to me, he said, "You have a football team?" I said, "Yes, I have a football team." And he says, "Well, would you be interested in playing a challenge match against the Royal Navy?" I said, "Well, surely." So we played against the Royal Navy. They put up a cup called the Caroline Cup after the HMS Caroline. We played it every other year. One match in Belfast, one match in Fordown. The first match was in Victoria Park in Belfast, which we won the cup. And that's the first trophy Hanover ever won.
Do you remember anything about the match? Who played in it, or
Oh, I do.
who scored, or what was the score?
I do indeed. I think we won 3-0 against the Royal Navy.
I kept a clean sheet.
Huh?
I kept a clean sheet, you know.
And we had went back to they brought us back to HMS Caroline after for a reception, for meal and drinks, and we had a good day in there, a very good day.
Very good day.
So and then the second match we had to play next year with this cup was in Fordown, and I went and seen Captain Long, which is Graham Long's father, who was captain in the fire service. Permission to use the fire service for changing rooms and all. That was the Challenge Cup. Unfortunately, the trouble was coming about. I went to the Royal Navy, couldn't travel. It was too dangerous. So after a couple of years, I had the cup in the house. And so I gave it over the Caroline Cup over to the BB.
So that was called the Hanover Cup then that they played for?
They ended up they called it the Hanover Cup, but originally was called the Caroline Cup.
And then was there a match that they played for the Hanover Cup and the winner got a new skip?
We decided that we'd give them a skip. And them days, you got a new skip every year. And one of the skips we give over, I can't remember now which team got it, but I could probably give it over to Tommy Hanlon, and he would have given the skip to the winners of the Hanover Cup.
I remember reading a news article from the time in the Portadown Times that the winners got a new skip, but because it was such a good match, they also give the runners-up a new skip as well.
Well, I can remember giving over the skip, right, and I'm getting the skip over to the BB, because the BB, the way I looked at it was the BB and the Scouts, they were the youth, and they were the up-and-coming players in the future. And probably some of the players that played with the BB end up playing for Hanover after my time, you know.
So you had been playing in the Lonsdale League and you had won your first trophy. So next then was getting into the Mid-Ulster League. So how did you go about applying for the Mid-Ulster League, and was there any criteria you had to meet to get into it?
Well, I applied for the Mid-Ulster League. But I applied anyway, and we had to have two skips. A away skip and a home skip. That was part of the thing, and you had to have a pitch, of course. John Johnson was a great player for Hanover. He was born and reared in Chelsea, played Chelsea football ground. He played with Chelsea youth, he played for London youth, and he played along with Osgood and them players whenever he was Chelsea youth. And John knew that I was going for a new skip. Me and John were very great. He said to me, "Maybe any chance of getting a Chelsea skip?" I said, "No problem, John, you've been a good club man, and we'll go and get the Chelsea skip." So I ordered the Chelsea skip, the blue. Hanover still plays blue.
Yep.
I ordered the blue Chelsea skip with the wee white things on the socks and all. And John was proud. I can remember the first time we played, and I had to put the skip out, and he was as proud as punch to put that skip on. And a lot of the older players, like Norman Donaldson, Crowe and all, they'll know about John Johnson.
So that blue skip that we still play on now, that was the first kit that had that Hanover badge on it that you had written off to Germany for.
Yeah, that's right.
So Hanover began playing in the Mid-Ulster League then, second division in 1969. You were playing against teams like Edenderry Blues and Reeds Athletic, Guildford Boys Club. So how did you feel sort of playing against those teams?
Well, I tell you, it was great. And that's what you look forward to. You were working, you know, but you always look forward to the Saturday. That was always in, and it was great when the manager gave you a top. You were delighted.
There's only 11 or 12 tops back then.
That's true. Not only that, that's what you look forward to, the Saturday. And especially a manager giving you that top.
And then if you'd played for Hagerstown before that, were they in like the Mid-Ulster League setup? No.
This here was Summer League football, and then of course with Norman, I played with Norman too in the Works League, you know.
Yeah. So it was a bit of a step up then. You're playing in a proper league format then. You're playing every Saturday over the winter.
Correct. That is right. Of course Hanover, don't forget, there's only like 2 divisions then. And we'll tell you, there were very hard matches, Saturday after Saturday. But Hanover seemed to be the team, you know.
But even in your first season in it in 1969, by the newspaper reports, you came second even in the first year. So
that is true, yeah.
He's done rightly. Came second to Dungannon Swifts as well. So you are both in a photo. It was around from 1969, and it's the first time Hanover was playing in their all blue kit, and the first time they had the badge on the kit. So you are both in that photo, and it's the first match was against St Mary's, and you were beat 1-0. Do you remember anything about that match?
Well, of course, there you talk about the blue skip. I hope I'm not bashed or anywhere. I was a Chelsea man, and that was the skip. Chelsea, it was the very same as Chelsea, that skip.
In your second season in Mid-Ulster Division 2, you won it, and by all accounts you had won it at a canter as well. So the club wasn't even going 5 years, but you were already sort of one of the top sides in the area. So what do you think made you one of the top sides in the area back then so quickly?
As I said, we're all mates sort of thing. We're all mates and we fought for each other. And when we went out on the pitch, we didn't fear anybody. You know, we thought we could beat anybody anytime. And we're just a family club. And we stuck together. You hit one, you hit the draw.
What was it like playing at Brownstown Park? Was there something about your first match that you almost didn't get playing?
The first match at Brownstown Park, the councillors and all, at that time, Portdown Council run the town. And I was in with the players, talking to the players before the match, and Hutchie Armstrong, Hutchie was my second in command type of thing. Hutchie came in to me and he says, the match has been called off. I said, why? He says, the referee. You went out and see the referee. I haven't seen the referee, and he says, now we had councillors down from the council down to watch the match. It was the very first match I ever played at Brownstown Park. And I went and I said to the referee, what's wrong here? He says, you've no halfway flags. So is this your first match in the Mid-Ulster? He says, yes, because if you go on the ground, you have to put cows up the bloody pitch. And then maybe bits of branches in the corner. And this is like Wembley compared to what you're going to see. But he played the match anyway, so he did.
So this was in around 1969, your first year in the Mid-Ulster second division. So
yeah.
Where were you meeting out of? Were you meeting in a bar or?
We met, ended up, and I had a cousin of mine, was a manager of a bar in Woodhouse called the Yacht. And they had a back room which was never used. So Big Joe said to me, Remy, you can take over that back room and use it as a club. And I'll give you a drink at a good price, and you can make a bit of a profit on the drink. So we had our own bar and all in the bar there. But we were there for a couple of years. We had a good time there.
I believe the yacht club isn't there anymore. Whatever happened to it?
The new manager took over and he put the prices up, which meant that we weren't making much profit. Let's put it that way. And then it was blown up. They've thrown up and destroyed.
Nothing to do with Hanover though.
Nothing to do with Hanover. No, definitely nothing to do with Hanover. I could say that for 100% fact. Nothing to do with Hanover. If they've thrown up, don't ask me who blew it up. I have no clue. I don't want to know anyway. That's put that way. But it was thrown up. So that was the end of our experience there.
You started in the Mid-Ulster second division in 1969, and then in 1970, in your second season, you actually won it.
Won it, that's right. I won it, and the thing I had against that was we were second division champions, which meant we were up into the first division. But there's no trophy come first. And me and Rowley had to go to Dungan Swifts, who won the second division the year before. And we had to go there and lift the trophy in Dungan and bring it to Portdown.
How did that season go? Did you win it easy? Was it hard fought, or did you win it by a stretch?
The second division?
The first win in the second division?
No, the second division, we won it easy. We won it easy, so we did. But I had some of the best players in Portdown.
Who would have been your standout players then?
Dennis Crowe, without a doubt. Dennis Crowe, without a doubt, was the best striker Hanover ever had in their life. Especially in the first division. He was a fantastic goal scorer. Donaldson was a good goal scorer too, like no bones about it. But I had a great all-round team at that time. Great all-round team.
Well, you had said actually that Dennis Crowe was one of your star players. Can you remember who got Player of the Year that year?
I think Hutchie got Club Man of the Year. I remember right.
Do you want me to tell you? There's a great article about it. So, left back Monty Young got Player of the Year.
Monty, good player. Monty Young come from Castle there, but he worked over here in the metal box over here. And I signed Monty. Monty was a good fullback. Very, very dedicated player. Never missed training or anything out there, you know.
Your other prize winners on the night were Norman Donaldson, top goal scorer with 31 goals, and Tom Armstrong was Club Man of the Year.
That's Hutchie, yeah. Everybody loved Hutchie. It was a good sign. I signed Hutchie. He played every position for Hanover. Goalkeeper and everything else. He was a good goalkeeper at one time. But he played in every position for Hanover. And a good clubman. The players loved him. He kept the players in hell. But Donaldson was a good player. I told Norman one time, I was sitting here, I told him, I already told him it. I said to him, I can make you a better player. He said, how did you do that? And I said, tape over your mouth.
Who would have been your standout players back then?
Well, Crowe would have been hard to get past.
Yeah.
You know, with the left foot. You needed a goal, like any time you needed a goal, Crowe was your man to go to, like. But the whole, I wouldn't even try to pick any individual out because the whole, well, there was only 12, it was maybe a 13 at the time, there's no subs or nothing. And we all stuck together.
There's a newspaper article from the dinner in 1970 whenever you won Mid-Ulster Division 2. Do you want to know who won the prizes that year?
Who won the what?
Who won the prizes that year?
Go ahead.
So at the dinner, Player of the Year, Monty Young, left back.
Well, that's, yes, Monty.
Club Man of the Year, Tom Armstrong.
Yeah.
And who was the top goal scorer with 32 goals?
Norman Donaldson.
Norman Donaldson. He was.
I can't even remember that. Monty, he wouldn't have got a better left back, so he wouldn't.
That's right.
He was a great left back, like.
So there's plenty of newspaper clippings from back then, and you both feature heavily in them.
Right, okay.
And you both seem to have chipped in with a brief few goals as well.
Right, okay.
So, Norman, you probably are the most featuring in the goals. So would you say that was what you brought to the team, like being a goal scorer or a poacher, or what way would you play it?
I don't know. I tell you the truth, I don't even know where I really played. I just played anywhere, didn't I, Tucker?
Hard player. Good player.
Played anywhere at all. They asked me to play. If they asked me to play in goals, I played in goals. As I say, I never started playing football at 21. I never played football at school or nothing like. So then,
Why is that?
I don't know. I just wasn't interested in it.
And then you ended up playing
ended
for years.
Well, I started playing for the Carpet Factory in the Wokes League, and then I come to Ramey, and then I think, was it Glenavon Reserves I went to then?
Yeah.
I think so. I think it was Glenavon Reserve, I'm not sure. And then I played all over. I played for Dungan, or not Dungan, Newry Town and Bonbridge Town. You know, flipping everywhere. But out of all the clubs of that, Hanover was always a club, like. It was a family club.
At the end of that season, then at that dinner where those guys won the awards, there was also in the same newspaper article that had said about your end of season dinner. You had it at the Seagull Hotel. There was over 175 people there.
Yeah.
There was entertainment from the Big Four, Sonny Tyrone and Billy Millsap.
Right, Billy Millsap, the camper.
Can you tell us anything about that night? Was it a good night celebration?
It's a good night celebration. The Big Four were a good group. Sonny Tyrone was a country music singer. He sang like some of them. But Billy Millsap, he done camper at Shamrock Park. And whenever I had the club going, I did just want a football team. I want them to socialise each other. So we all went on Saturday night to Shamrock Park with our wives and girlfriends and took over a couple of big seats in Shamrock Park and socialised together. So that's why I wanted more family orientated than just a football team. So that was a good night.
You had said you had a real good all-round team, and from the match reports at the time, it would suggest that as well. There was some names would keep cropping up in all the match reports. As you'd said, you had Dennis Crowe, Norman Donaldson, seemed to chip in with a lot of goals, and then you had also Maurice McClure, Kenny Pepper, Dennis Brown, John Johnson.
Yeah. McClure was our hard man. I would have had McClure. I know there's nothing to say about being a manager. It probably happens in Premier League and everything else. But before the match, you pick the players who you're playing against. And I can remember the Erskines out on Gun, Raymond Erskine, a good player, very fast and good player, but people have a stick in his back. So I just said before the match, McClure, right, you're up against Raymond Erskine. If he changes swing, you change swing. And hit him hard. And McClure could hit hard, believe you me, he was a hard man. He was very hard, probably. People called him a dirty player, but he wasn't a dirty player. McClure was a good player, but he took no nonsense.
So you'd won the Mid-Ulster Division 2 then in 1969.
That's right.
And in 1970 you were moving up then to Division 1.
Division 1.
So I believe one of the big signings of the time was you were managed to sign ex-Northern Ireland international and ex-Crusaders player Albert Campbell. So how did that come about?
Well, I got tipped off that Albert was moving to Craigavon. Now, Albert Campbell was one of the best players in the Irish League. He was captain of the Crusaders and he was international and everything else. So I was tipped off that he was moving to Craigavon. And I knew exactly what day he was moving into the house. So I arranged with a couple of Maurice McClure and myself, and of course the Portdown Times, they came and they got tipped off. Somebody told them that I was signing a big player, and they thought it was Jimmy Greaves I was signing. I said I wish it was, but I wouldn't tell them who it was. But I'll tell you one thing: when I'm going to sign him, you can send the photographer with you, and because Portdown Times for good to us, good to Hanover. And I says, I'll tip you off. And when they sent the photographer out, and we went out, Big Albert arrived in the house, and I said to him, I'm manager of Hanover, would like you to sign for Hanover. So he says you'd have to get permission of Crusaders Football Club, which I knew you had to do that. So he signed anyway that night. He signed the form for the Mid-Ulster. Professional. I had to sign him professional, which by law we had to pay him 10p, which the silver, the lowest you could pay was silver coins. I paid him 10p, and he paid back £1 to play for Hanover. And he was a brilliant sign. He loved Hanover, loved the players. But one thing he did say to me one time, and I never forget him ever saying this, he says, Remy, he says, you have 8 players on this team you shouldn't have. I said, why, Albert? He says, you should play in the Irish League. He said, I played against first players and we have here. I always remember him telling me that. And we had a great team that time, you know.
Certainly had, Remy, you know, Big Albert. And I just come into the team when we were playing in the 2nd division. And I didn't even know you were saying Albert until the start of the next year he came in. And his professionalism was unbelievable. You know, he really, and when you're playing with him, he brought you along. He had confidence in you. He didn't turn your back on you. He gave you the ball when you called for it. You give it back to him when you wanted it. You done the simple things with Albert. And I remember Albert playing against young men 10 years younger, and he had wee men on, wee boys on. You know, he was really so good. He was really, really so good.
What sort of age would he have been in 1971 whenever he came and signed for Hanover, do you think?
In his 30s,
30.
Oh, yeah,
30, 31. So he was still young.
Yeah.
Still young.
So he had, as we'd said, he had 3 Northern Ireland caps. He was Northern Ireland Footballer of the Year, 1961. And he'd also won the Irish League, or the Irish Cup, sorry, twice. What do you think convinced him to come and sign for Hanover?
Well, the way the Crusaders treated them, the way I had to sign a contract with Crusaders that if we were to sell Albert Campbell, they would get half the fees, which I didn't. We didn't intend to sign him, to sell him. But I think he just was deluded by Crusaders the way they treat him at the end. Having to charge him £4 to get into the see the match, he gave the £4 to me for him. And let him go in, and he just got into the car and went home. I never went back to Crusaders again. And the day he died, he loved Hanover. He loved Hanover the day he died.
Yeah, I think the fact was that when he left Crusaders, which was a family club, he was there all his life. When he come to Hanover, it was exactly the same with Hanover. You know, the friendly club, all the boys knew each other.
Socialise each other.
Socialise with each other. You know, we'll talk about the yacht. We'll go back to the room. We all went back, we threw darts and had a few beers, and then we left after 8 o'clock and we went our own way. I went and met my mates, you know, and the wee club was brilliant, really. You know, it really was good. Other teams actually come back as well, you know, which was good.
So often those sort of big name signings from the Irish League that are dropping down a bit, often nowadays they might not go to plan, but from the match reports at the time, it would seem that the signing of Big Albert, it did go to plan and it did live up to the hype.
It went to the plan with Hanover, but unfortunately, in the Mid-Ulster meetings, the other teams objected to us signing Albert Campbell because he was so good. He took it like a sore thumb in the middle.
Yeah, They didn't like it.
They didn't like it.
They didn't like it.
And I got an awful lot of views at the meetings. Me and Rowley were at the meetings, and I got Hanover shouldn't have signed him professional and all this. We got an awful lot of views, but we were walking away with the first division that time. We were hammering teams left, right, and centre, and Campbell was scoring goals as well. But many a meeting at Overton 11 football club, I got abuse over Campbell. It was jealousy. In my opinion, it was jealousy because them teams would love to have signed him, but we signed him.
So with Albert's experience and with his quality, did he sort of become like a natural leader on the pitch?
Oh, he was not the leader on the pitch, surely. He wouldn't lead. Then I had to bring in a trainer.
That's how Albert was so professional. You know, we didn't train at that time.
Trained, but not
to the extent with when Remy brought Robbie Davin in. It was intense, 2 nights a week. You always want to play. And the fact that Big Albert was there too was a bonus. And not only that, other teams loved playing against Hanover because of Big Albert. He's a gentleman on and off the pitch. He's the first referee, he's the first footballer seen putting his arm around the referee before the start of a match. Get on the referee's side, you know. And the referees respected him for that. You know, there's no else chatting back to the referee there is now and disrespecting the referees then. You know, Big Albert got the referee on our side, you know.
So Tucker, what are some of your memories of playing with Albert Campbell?
Yeah, great memories. When you're playing well, I'm telling you, he was loved it. Brought you to one side and told you, you know. And that's what I always admired him for. There wasn't a bad word he said about it, but he always seems to go to a player, got him by himself, spoke to him, you know. Great.
So even though he would have been a better quality of player than maybe some of the lads, the younger lads he was playing with, he was able to bring them on and coach them.
That's right.
And be a leader on the pitch as well.
Oh, aye. Yeah.
So Norman, what are your memories of playing with Albert then?
Mine was sort of the same as Tucker's there, and he never seemed to say, no, I'm a better player than you, I've played in a better level or anything like that. But it was great playing with a Northern Ireland international. So it was.
And it seemed like he chipped in with a few goals as well.
Oh, he did. Corner kicks, he was deadly at corner kicks.
So Big Albert signed in 1971. How long did he stay for, roughly?
I think Albert stayed for a good part of 7, 8 years, which was really good, you know, and he's seen us through good times, really good times. We won plenty of trophies, won the leagues, and I think that the Cap Albert at Hanover we're all mates.
So
you know,
he loved the social life.
He liked the crack. And with Hanover back then, it was a core bunch of players, and they stayed. You had 1 or 2 boys coming in and going, if you know what I mean. 1 or 2 boys coming in to improve the team and then leaving. But there was a core of 5 or 6 players there, you know. And Albert enjoyed that environment, you know. When we used to after matches go to the Camelot. Albert's wife, she become manageress of the Bodega. So we started to go in there. So Albert, he was the doorman there, and all the boys went back. All the boys went back, you know.
That's good.
He was a good club man.
He's a good club man, yeah.
And
as well as a great player.
Yeah,
Great player.
from all the match reports from the time, I mean, he's in nearly all of them, really, for a good few years. His strong presence at the back, you know, very physical. He was a nuisance in the opposition box, going off for corners, and he also chipped in with quite a few goals as well, it seems.
Yeah. It was his presence as well, because he just, the football is hanging out of him, if you know what I mean. His timing, tackles and timing, his heading ability was just superb. So it was, you know, we never experienced this. Well, certainly I never experienced this. Yes, we had great players in Crow and Donaldson, and Big John Johnson, Willie John Forbes, you know. But Big Albert was just a class above. And in saying that there now, he didn't look down on anybody. You know, we're all mates here, you know. He didn't say, he'd have said to you if you had had a bad game. And he'd have pointed out certain things that you done wrong defensively or whatever. You know, but it wasn't malicious. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just constructive criticism, if you know what I mean. And the boys were thankful for that, if you know what I mean. They all took it on board.
Because of respect for him.
They had the respect for him, that's right. Yeah.
That was the best sign Hanover ever made. Best sign ever made. And the teams, see, going for a corner kick or anything, the teams are crapping themselves when they come up for the corners. Because there wasn't one he didn't miss, like. He scored goals from corner kicks.
Yeah.
And he saved goals at our side when there's a corner kick against us. You know, it was like playing with a man mountain. You couldn't have met him by nicer man, so you couldn't.
That's true. Not only that, there, he always coached you.
He coached you, yep.
And if you give a good ball, you scored a goal, he was up, you know.
Mm. Well, if you played alongside him, like, he kept you right all the time.
Oh, he did, yeah.
So you'd have said like he would have been like a big presence and a big leader on the pitch.
Not half.
Job. I'm a gentleman.
Not half, but he was.
And then would you all have knocked about together outside of work or outside of Hanover as well?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it kept it so good at club.
I think I'm going to touch on this a wee bit later, but I think something great about Big Albert playing for Hanover, he signed whenever we were going into Mid-Ulster Division 1, but a few years later we actually ended up in Mid-Ulster Division 3, and he came back and played for us through the divisions again, Division 3, Division 1, and right up to Division 1 again. So that's sort of testament to what you guys are saying about how you became friends with everybody and integrated into life at Hanover and at Portadown.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, definitely, yeah. There's so many stories about Albert. You know, I take photographs. I go down to Shamrock Park, and I was talking to a photographer there, Stephen Hamilton. He's a Crusaders fan, and his father talks about Big Albert. So I shown Hammy a photograph of the 75-76 team. And I said to him, "Do you know who that is?" And he went, "It's just that's Big Albert." Oh, we all know he signed for Hanover when he left Crusaders. So that's the charisma that the guy had. You know, when he played for Hanover, everybody knew who Albert Campbell was. You know.
Whenever we were playing a match in Brownstown Park, and this bus came in. I didn't see the bus. Hodgie told you there's a bus. A load of men come in here. So there were actually Crusaders supporters. And they come down to watch Campbell playing for Hanover in Brownstown Park. And they went back to our club in the yacht.
Yeah.
So whenever you were going into then Mid-Ulster Division 1, you had obviously signed Big Albert. You had said in a news article as well that you were looking for other players and you were looking to strengthen your reserves as well. So was there any other changes you were thinking you were needing to make to go into the Mid-Ulster Division 1?
Well, I signed different players, but I knew right that the team that we had, the second division, wasn't good enough to win the first division. Because we were up against the like of Loughgall, up against Dungannon Swifts, so we had to strengthen our team.
You had the like of Milford Avon, who are now Armagh City, and Dungannon Swifts here in the first division at that time, as well as Banborb. Tandagee Rovers, Kilford United, of these worlds, you know, and they're all good teams.
Lurgan Celtic.
Lurgan Celtic, yeah.
But I had to strengthen, but I knew a lot of the players I had were good enough. Like Crow and Dawson and John Johnson all were good enough. But
Guffer was playing at that time, but Guffer signed for Hanover at that time.
Yeah.
So in the first division then, so you are playing against a higher level of opponents, so like your Tandagee Rovers, Rich Hill, Dungannon Swifts again, Darkley. So how did you find the step up then? You've only played in the Mid-Ulster Division 2 for a couple of seasons and then you were straight into sort of the top league that you could play in around here really?
Well, I said the team we had back then, we didn't fear nobody. We were none of the best we thought we could beat everybody. You know, we didn't fear anybody going out. We're going out and we're always going out. We're going to win this match. There's one team there that you haven't mentioned was in that league, Milford Everton.
Yeah.
And I think they would have been giving us our hardest match.
Yeah.
So
Maxie Potton
and them boys, yep.
So in your first season there in Division 1, you actually finished third.
Oh, it wasn't too bad.
But what wouldn't have helped your case, and what's as well documented at the time, was you missing 3 penalties in a row.
Right, okay, but I can't remember that.
That's selective memory.
But they weren't, you're saying that there's 3 in a row. That makes it sound like it was one match.
No, over a few months.
Season.
To make you feel better, Albert Campbell missed the 4th one and Dennis Brown missed the 5th one.
Right, okay.
For Dennis Crowe being such a good goal scorer, how come he didn't take the penalty?
Dennis wouldn't take penalty kicks. Just wouldn't have took them. And myself didn't like to see a left footer taking a penalty kick. I think it's right, but no, Dennis wouldn't have taken them.
So what about the training then? Did anything change?
Yes, I brought in a trainer, an FA coach called Robbie Dobbin, and he trained us in Brownstown Park. In fact, Albert Campbell says, "Where did you get him from?" He says, "I'm training harder here with Hanover than I was with Crusaders." And Robbie was ruthless. Don't forget, Robbie Dobbin was an FA coach, and I'd been with, I think it was Chelsea and different clubs that he
I read Millwall and Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I think it was down to the players too who wanted to train. We trained 2 nights a week, Tuesday night and a Thursday night. And Thursday night was a wee bit.
So you do touch football Thursday night.
But certainly I was the first time I was ever fit playing football, if you know what I mean. You could last a whole 90 minutes. And certainly we just ran teams ragged the last 20 minutes.
What a training session it looked like back then, and how do you think it would compare to the lack of a training session you would see with Hanover today?
Well, the boys that's training now for Hanover, or any team I think, wouldn't train as hard as we trained with Robert Dobbin. I think Robert thought he was still training Chelsea players. He's still training professional footballers. When he finished the night's training with Robbie, he went home and he went straight to bed.
Was it all very running? Was it running centre?
Everything to do with training. See, he was an FA coach in England. You know, he's a top coach. Any other club in the middle also wouldn't have had a coach like that.
that professionalism though, and that must have added to the attractiveness of Hanover, and you know that whole professional feel of the club.
Probably did. But anybody, as I say again, anybody signed for Hanover, they're always from round about. You know, you knew them before they even come. You know what I mean? Before they even come to the club, there. You know, there's Tucker coming to play for Hanover. You know.
Your first season in the first division, you won your first few games, 100% record.
Indeed. After the year, Crow scored 92 or 93, 82, 83 goals that year.
I seen an article about it. It was 93 goals.
93 goals.
Yeah.
I said the year before by Albert Campbell. Albert Campbell can't understand how I got down as Crow playing for Hanover.
Was he one of the ones that Albert believed should have been playing in the Irish League?
He was one of the ones that Albert said, you have 8 players in that team. He said, you shouldn't have them. I have played against worse.
You just spoke maybe off camera about Dennis Crowe and about, you know, the amount of goals he scored, and he scored, you know, 92 goals one season or something, or in a calendar year. It might have been
a calendar year. It wasn't in the season. Like
was other teams not sort of coming in for him? Like would they like a Portadown or somebody not looked at him?
He come to Bonbridge with me when I went to Bonbridge, and he only stayed 2 weeks. Just didn't. He didn't mix the same as he had to mix with the Hanover boys. You know, he just wanted to stay at Hanover.
In that same first season, you also got to the final of the Mid-Ulster Cup, and from reading the news articles from the day, it seemed like it was a bit of a big deal and a bit of a showcase final. There was £175 to the winner, which if you adjust it for inflation to today's money, that's £2,100.
We beat Dunyan Sus in the semi-final, and I was at the meeting, and Roy Marshall announced that the final would be played against Loudon at Moorview Park, and I objected. And I said, hold on, that's not fair on us. Sure, we should go to a neutral ground. I knew the answer I got. If you don't like it, we'll put Dunyan Sus in your place. I thought we should have been playing maybe Shamrock Park. You know, if it's unusual to us, we've never played Shamrock Park. And that's the answer I got. If you don't like it, Loudon at Moorview Park or nowhere, you'll be out. We'll put Dunyan Sus, who was second. We beat in the semi-final in your place.
So you ended up getting beaten in that Mid-Ulster Cup final then?
Yes, that's the only trophy I lost. It always sticks in me that I never won that cup. But that was the only cup we were beaten. But we won the league and won the cup and everything else. But the Mid-Ulster Cup defeated me.
So how did the match go? You were in the press before it saying there was a few injury doubts, but I think they all ended up playing apart from Donaldson was sub.
Don Donaldson had 6 stitches in his shin. He played with 6 stitches in his shin. Right. And then, but no goalkeeper. Jeffrey Helm was injured. So to bring in another goalkeeper to the second team. I took Jackie Clark out of the second team to play. He was sick before the match. He heard the crowd outside. And he says to me, I wish I was playing. I said, wait, tell you, Jackie, once you go out there and once you kick the ball, it'll leave you like that. Your nerves will go once you kick the ball. And he had a good game too.
So you were beaten 5-2. The goal scorers were Crowe and Hillen, and he's also had a goal disallowed after 10 minutes.
So we had. Whenever I scored that goal, I thought we were going to win it. Until the race started.
I believe it was a feisty affair.
Albert Campbell got stuck in the upper border. Of course, Crowe was the one, he got stuck in it. So the Donald never sent off. Just, we were down to 9 men playing against Loudon in Moorview Park.
Well, it all started with a boy from down south hitting Tucker. So Crowe dacked him, and then a boy jumped and Crowe's back and I dacked him, and the 4 was sent off.
So this is in the theme of all the Hanover boys sticking together that you've been talking about then?
Exactly. Hit one of us, yeah, that's all.
He's actually had a goal disallowed too in the 10th minute, so
that's right.
It could have been all a bit different, and I think there was big prize money for this Mid-Ulster Cup final back in the day too. So that was sort of 1971, so that was your first season in the Mid-Ulster Division 1, and you've also got to the final of the the Mid-Ulster Cup. So like you were obviously one of the best sides around in the area.
Yeah.
So like you had only started really 5 years before. So like what was it about that time period that made you so good or allowed you to establish yourselves so quickly against all these other bigger teams?
As I said before, we're a family club and we all stuck together, you know, and we helped each other out. And when I on the pitch, we're never beat.
So it wasn't too long after that then that you had only recently got promoted into Mid-Ulster Division 1. And to be honest, you had only applied for Mid-Ulster Division 2 in 1969, but by 1973 you were actually crowned Mid-Ulster champion of Division 1. Can you tell me anything about that?
I'm not too sure on this now, but I think we were the first 4 down team to win the Mid-Ulster. You know, it was hard. At that time there was only two divisions. You know, before they started the 3rd division with the reserves and all. But when we went first, only 2 divisions, so we were playing against top teams, you know. And there was teams that, like Lickleton Jan Swiss for a good side, Lockall and Lorgan Celtic were a good squad at that time too. In fact, Lorgan Celtic and us were touch and go towards about 3/4 of the way through the season. We were something like a point above Lorgan Celtic. It was touch and go which I'd say was going to win the league.
Who would your standout players have been in that season?
Oh, Crow, without a doubt, Crow.
Albert.
And Crow was a
Winky Madlow. Winky was a
good player.
Good player. You had
Monty Young was a good player.
you had Gordon McNeil was in goals at that time.
Aye.
Jeffrey Hunt had left and went to Lockall. Gordon was a good goalkeeper. You had Jimmy Clark was now starting fullback. And Willie John Forbes come to Hanover at that time.
Aye.
And Willie was Portadown experience. As hard as nails. He had ginger hair, so he's as hard as nails, you know.
He asked me to sign. Willie John Forbes said to me, remember,
He's
John's
still-
not to sign for us.
Still big John Johnson playing. Morris McClure was still playing.
Aye.
You know, and Grown Donaldson. Danny Brown. Dennis was
A terrier.
was underrated, if you know what I mean, but he was a super footballer. You know.
We terrier in the middle of the park. Covered every inch of the park.
And my experience playing those guys was just brilliant. So it was, you know, they looked after you, you know, and you could see, all those players who won the league that year. They're all great players. They're all great. There was no weaknesses. There was no this, that, or the other. You know.
Players there who played like a John Johnson. John Johnson gave us 100% all the time. And I was asked at least 4 or 5 times by different scouts for come and ask permission to talk to some of our players. Now, I remember we're playing over in Lorgan, and the scouts from Glenavon come over and asked me permission to talk to John Johnson. I went over to John Johnson and he says, would be interested in signing for Glenavon. Well, John said no. I'm a Hanover man.
That's right.
I'll stay with Hanover.
It was a pleasure to play with those guys. It really was. You know, I learned a lot playing with Big Albert and Donaldson. You know, they can say what they want about Norman now, but Norman was a bloody good player.
He was a good player.
I believe Norman's winning mentality seen him get his marching orders a few times as well.
He did indeed.
He must have been a good player. He seemed to have scored plenty of goals.
He was a
in
good
matches.
He
player.
was a good player.
Norman was a good player.
Yeah.
Good club man too. But he gave you 100% in the field.
Yeah.
What was the attractiveness of Hanover? Like how you fellas were all mates and all lived in the area, but what made everybody want to come and sign for Hanover?
I don't know, what would you say?
Well, I'll tell you this here, as I said earlier on, there was only 2 divisions.
That's right.
I'm going to tell you this here, there was a lot of players trying to sign for Hanover, but Hanover never signed them. Hanover seemed to be the team then, you know.
So whenever you started in the Mid-Ulster League, you were playing against teams like Reeds Athletic, Banburb, Guildford Boys Club, and a lot of those teams that you see in the newspaper articles and in them league tables aren't here anymore. They've folded. So what do you think it is about Hanover that we're still going strong after 60 years?
Well, to me, the players all stuck together, and not only out there, then when they retired the football, if they had a son, the son was a Hanover maybe lucky enough he started playing for him. And then the son, maybe he got married, maybe a wee kid like myself. I have a son, Mark, and I have two grandsons, and to me it's fantastic that there would be Ollie and Charlie, and they're Hanovers.
You have probably watched hundreds of Hanover matches, like over the years, maybe over 1,000, and played in a brave few as well. So if you look at the team back then, you know, maybe yourselves, Morris McClure, Albert Campbell, people like that, how do you think that sort of those teams would stack up against, you know, a team now playing?
Well, I'm not trying to run the team down now that we have at the minute. The one in sales class, but if you give them 3 or 4 goals up, we'll get them.
Are you just being bashed now?
No,
You're saying you're bad.
Oh no, I'm not being bashed. They just wouldn't have counted.
What do you think, Tucker?
Some great players there, Monty Young, John Johnson, Joe Pepper, Morris McClure, of course Aaron Hahn here, you know.
Another two people that you both would have knew and were heavily involved with the club was Noel Rowland and Tommy McCabe. So another two great club men over the years.
Yep.
Yeah,
Legends.
I think it would only be right if we mentioned them too. So we'll probably start with Rowley first. So like you would have played with him, and then Norman, you probably would have played under him, played for him as well. Yeah. So what are your memories of Rowley?
Rowley was one of the good ones. You know, he was one of the good ones. Tommy McCabe too. Tommy never missed every Saturday. But Rowley was a good manager too. He took no nonsense, so he didn't.
So whenever the team went through a bit of a blip, then Rowley, he was the one sort of started up again, and he was the manager then.
Yep, he started back up.
So what got you? You had already left at this stage. So what got you to come back?
Rowley got me to come back, and I wanted to come back to the boys again. I don't know why. It was the worst mistake I ever made was leaving them. You know, but sure, everybody makes mistakes.
And Rowley had managed to get back sort of nearly that whole team. The
whole team come back, yep.
So like Dennis Crowe, Dennis Brown, even Albert Campbell, they all came back as well.
Yep.
So do you think Rowley was a big pull and a big help in doing that?
With anybody else, I don't think would have been back. Only it was for Rowley, you know.
And Tucker, what's your memories of Rowley then? Did you play with him?
Oh, great lad.
Rowley was such a popular character. Everybody just, Hanover's playing, Rowley's the manager. I was saying for Hanover, you know, he kept a good house, football-wise. People respected him, and he just got on. He just got on with people, you know, and that's the way it was.
Rowley was a great manager. He was a great bloke, great character. But I could not praise Noel Rowland high enough. He was simply just one of the best.